Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Adam Bergman's Moneymakers. Today, you know I gotta talk about my favorite company, Palantir. Palantir is up nearly 7% in regular trading hours. And in this video, I wanna explain why I think Palantir is up a massive 7% for the day and why I think Palantir is gonna keep going on a bull run throughout this entire year. In order to explain why Palantir is up 7% for the day, I want to go over three separate things. The first and foremost, I wanted to cover an earnings release date. I wanted to cover an article that covers Palantir, and a lot of things said in that article are my very own sentiments about Palantir. And number three, I wanted to cover a massive patent that we got awarded today. Hopefully with covering all three things, this gives you a little bit of an insight of why Palantir is absolutely killing it today. And hopefully this massive bull run is about to start. First and foremost, let's take a look at the price. The price is $12.91. It closed positive 6.26%. It did drop down a little bit from where it was earlier in the day. If you look from the day, it was just positive. It had a run up and it stayed at a plateau for the most part of the day. Standing at $12.91, it's still closer to the 52-week low right at this point than it is at a 52-week high. And you know what? I love that because it gives me an opportunity to buy all of these dips. Now, I hate when people say, I wish this thing goes down so that I can buy. However, if the price of a company that I love or a price of a crypto that I love goes down, I do take advantage to buy the dip as long as nothing changed in the core fundamentals of the company. And has anything changed with Palantir? No, sir. Nothing changed with Palantir. Palantir is an absolute monster. Let's go to the first piece of news, the new earnings. This is officially from the Palantir website. It says Palantir announces the date of the first quarter 2022 earnings release date and webcast. The first quarter ending March 31st of 2022 will be released on Monday, May 9th, prior to the open of the markets. I personally like that it's prior to the open of the markets. I think they might think that it's something good, the good news, and maybe it's gonna prop up the price. I prefer earnings before the bell than after the bell, but again, that might just be my own personal thinking and there's no absolute logic behind it. I just think earnings before is better than after. After, it's almost like you're trying to hide something, and before, it's almost like you're trying to unpackage a beautifully wrapped present. And if you click the link over here, it says, in addition, shareholders can submit and vote on questions by visiting this website right here. And these are all of the different questions and that you could vote on. One main question, what are we expecting to see in the next 6 months? What is going to move the needle forward? Another big one, can Alex Karp and management present a long-term master plan that explains strategic goals, product development, and more detailed financial guidance? Guys, I've been saying it all along that since the last earnings, Palantir is hearing us. They understand and they're listening. They're trying to answer our questions and be more in the spotlight. Alex Karp has a very arrogant, we are better than everybody, we don't need to do anything, and our technology speaks for ourselves. And I agree with him to a point. However, as I say all the time, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, did it make a sound? Technically it did, but in reality, it didn't make a sound that is gonna cause any ripple effect. By doing this format, it's showing me that Palantir is even more serious about the investors. They're very happy to answer the questions. They're very happy to get ahead of it. And I definitely urge everybody, I'll leave a link to this in my description, to go on this website and vote for what questions you want answered. A couple of more questions. Where do you see Palantir in 3 years? Has the war in Ukraine boosted revenue in this quarter, and by what percent or by how much percent? I wanted to tell you that the first quarter is ending March 31st, which means Ukraine was already invaded by Russia, which means I'm anticipating one of two things. Either they're going to announce some partnership that they've been having in Ukraine, and it's almost no secret that they have been helping in Ukraine. I've done many videos about it, and if you Google it and search the other YouTubers, they speak about Palantir in Ukraine all the time. It was all but announced by our COO, Shyam Sankar, in one of his interviews. He led and said something about Ukraine. He was talking about satellites and being able to see things, and he definitely led to Ukraine. Plus, there's a bunch of websites showing Foundry helping find shelter for the refugees from Ukraine, and I believe it was going to Lithuania. I do have a video on that. Please double check my videos. So either they're going to announce that they did have some partnership, or I'm expecting a forward-moving statement. And as you can see from the questions below, somebody says, what's your plan for the next 6 months? I have a feeling that they're going to definitely mention something with Ukraine, something with Russia, and more importantly, with NATO and the European Union. This is going to be a very, very important earnings call, but not as important as third and fourth quarter of this year earnings call, because that's when I think the new contracts are going to be coming in. For anybody that doesn't know, we had a very bad earnings last quarter, not in my opinion, but the perception. Although we grew and we still made our numbers, by far, our government business did not grow. Our commercial business did grow. Because our government business did not grow and our international business, both government and commercial, did not grow as much as our domestic commercial business, we were perceived as weak because the government business was our stronghold. Well. Everybody was laughing at us because all we had were government contracts. Now we short up our commercial contracts and people are like, oh, you're not growing your government. But the real TAM, total addressable market, was always the commercial side. But now what's going to happen is we can get more government contracts from around the world and more commercial contracts from around the world. I anticipate that during the earnings call, this is going to be one of the topics that is spoken about, and I pray that this is going to make the price go up, and I hope that we really did see our 52-week low bottom, and we were able to catch the bottom of the J-curve. This is an article that was written by Investors Place. It actually came out 3 days ago. It says Palantir stock is due for a 25% growth in the summer. It says if it can get to back above $15, the trend could carry it up 25% into the summer. 25% on that $15 mark brings us right under $19. So he's saying that he could definitely see $19 in the summer. I would personally not be unhappy if we hit $19, but I wouldn't be jumping for joy because I think that is super severely undervalued. As I said before, I'm anticipating some very big news and an explanation that we are definitely growing, not just domestically, but internationally with our government contracts and internationally with our commercial contracts. If those numbers beat the expected numbers and we could bring in all of these new contracts. I also made a video just a couple of days ago and I said that the NHS in the UK is gonna announce a major $300 million equivalent contract. And the front runner is Palantir, because Palantir already works with the NHS and Palantir works with the CDC, that's the sister of the NHS in America. It is only natural that this contract will go to Palantir. And at a $300 million valuation for this contract, that is absolutely massive. On news like that, I believe Palantir can jump up 10% just from that one contract awarded. That, plus a bunch of other things, can make us skyrocket. Let's see what the rest of the article says. The pandemic changed the world, especially Wall Street investors' approach to trading equities may never go back to the old ways. And the big part of the change in the influx of new retail investors. They had inexperience, but the borrow of a fresh perspective on things. Out of these meme stocks emerged, including Palantir, which has more bad than good for Palantir stock investors. The good part was that the meme stock caught fire and Palantir rallied 370% in about a month. It was on fire. You couldn't tell anybody anything bad about Palantir. But that was a completely unnatural pump. Unfortunately, it peaked 13 months ago and it has been in a downhill swirl ever since. Correct. And now it's in the undervalued territory. In my personal opinion, none of this is financial advice. Anything under $25 for Palantir is a true gift of a buy. And Palantir is truly worth multiple triple digits. However, it must grow into its role as an AI data analytics processor for everybody in the world. Palantir is everywhere. On land, sea, and even in space. It says technically there is good news from hitting the February lows. The deepest point happened because of a market-wide correction after Russia invaded Ukraine. The timing was unfortunate because it is after the negative earnings reaction, but since then, bulls have established a series of higher lows. If the price soon rises about $15 a share, Palantir can extend its rally another 25% in the summer Over the longer time, investors should accumulate the stock in smaller increments. I don't agree with that. Wall Street is too cautious on Palantir stock. I do agree with that. Palantir already had a successful business, therefore it's not your average frothy meme stock. Palantir has a meme-like culture like Tesla and following like Tesla, but it is far from a meme stock like Tesla. Palantir actually does something with a huge moat around it. For God's sakes, Palantir can catch a little tennis ball size piece of debris in space. Palantir has edge technology where they don't need to use cloud and they're processing information before it hits the earth. Guys, what else do you want to explain that this is not a meme stock? It does have a cult-like following, but by no means is it a meme stock. Palantir's metrics are normalizing a bit. In fact, it now creates over $300 million in positive cash flow from its own operations. It is important in a rising interest rate environment to not need to borrow much. The 15.8 price to sales suggests that investors in Palantir stock now have realistic expectations. According to the Yahoo Finance, the average price target is around $15. So the average price target is $15, which definitely gives us a nice little upside of around 15 or 17% off the top of my head from where we are now. I still think that's at least 50% undervalued where it should be of around $30 to $40. He ends by saying, value is not the reason why investors should buy into Palantir. At this stage of the game, Palantir should be focusing on deploying cash to deliver growth. Tweaking profitability can come later. So Palantir does not tweak profitability. Palantir has no debt, and they have a lot of money coming into the company. Palantir is not considered profitable because of fancy accounting techniques, and you don't want to be profitable. Palantir also does stock-based compensation to bring the biggest and brightest engineering minds and developers to Palantir. Alex Karp has said in many occasions, it's very hard to get the best and brightest minds, the 1% of the 1%, to come to your company because they're usually coming to companies like a Tesla or a Google or a Microsoft. And although Palantir is a mega heavy hitter, it is a couple of steps below a company like Tesla. Everybody wants to work in Tesla. Not as many people want to work in Palantir, and it's a very hard comparison. So they do stock-based compensation to make whoever's working for Palantir feel like they're part of the company. And then you have that mesh that comes together and builds something absolutely beautiful. This was a post on Twitter. It says Palantir granted US patent for network anomaly detection. But what exactly is network anomaly detection, and why is it so important to have this specific patent? Now, these are actually all the patents that was awarded. The very first one right here is the network anomaly detection patent. Abstract: a security system detects anomalies, activities in a network. The system logs users' activities, which can include ports used, compares users to find similar users, sorts similar users in cohorts, and compares new user activities to log behavior of the cohort. The comparison can include a divergence calculation, origins of the users. Activity can also be used to determine the anomalous network activity. The host name, username, IP address, and timestamp can be used to calculate aggregated scores and convoluted scores. What I read there quite possibly can do with anything, but it sounds to me like they're getting a little bit more and more into the blockchain world, into cryptocurrency. Now, there's a couple of articles that Palantir is into cryptocurrency, and there's a couple of videos that Palantir is into cryptocurrency. Something like this, when I see that it can track cohorts, logins, IP addresses, so on and so forth, to me, it sounds like they are working on cryptocurrency and blockchain. It's also very important to know that a lot of these patents are filed for a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and they're coming in bing, 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 bing. I think Palantir has over 1,000 patents. Last video that I made, in this month alone, they got 10 patents that came in, and I believe March brought them in 25 other patents. They're working left and right so that other people cannot steal their ideas because they are a front runner of AI data analytics. Palantir is absolutely a monster. I cannot wait to see what the future holds, and I'm very curious to see if my hypothesis and my theory holds true, that we are a major player in Ukraine, and because of this, we are getting into Europe and into NATO, working with many other governments and many other companies abroad, and increasing our contracts domestically. Remember, Palantir wrote a letter, Alex Karp wrote a letter saying that it's not all flowers and rainbows and that we had decades of peace and that people underestimated what is possible in this world. No matter what happens between Russia and Ukraine, one thing is for certain, the world is now on notice. And that's a fact, Adam. Thank you so much for my support. We're up to 337 people already. Have a great day, and please don't forget, give me the likes, the shares, and subscribe if you're feeling this type of content. Have a good one.